The shocking truth: what happened in Doveland at midnight will haunt you forever. In the quiet town of Doveland, a hidden truth lay buried under layers of whispers and secrets. Every citizen felt the chill on that fateful midnight, a feeling that clawed at their insides. As the clock struck 12, something extraordinary pierced the expectant silence. Lights flickered in the old town square, casting eerie shadows that danced like restless spirits across the cobblestones. The air crackled with anticipation. It was as if Doveland itself held its breath, waiting for the truth to be unmasked. Without warning, an animalistic howl shattered the stillness, reverberating through the narrow, dimly lit streets. Residents peered out of their windows, hearts racing, clutching their children tightly. Was it a wolf? A bear? No, this was something far more sinister. It carried an otherworldly tone, haunting and yet strangely compelling. Panic etched itself across faces as confused murmurs rippled through the town, feeding the rising tide of dread. In the heart of Doveland stood the old clock tower, a silhouette against a midnight sky, its hands frozen at midnight. But today, they whispered tales of another kind. A glimmering light began to pulse at its peak, illuminating the age-old structure in a ghostly glow. Sparks flew as chill winds howled. And then a figure emerged, cloaked in shadow, eyes gleaming like forbidden stars. It was there and gone in a heartbeat, leaving behind the metallic tang of fear hanging in the night air. "Did you see that?" A woman gasped, the words tumbling out of her mouth like marbles falling from a child's hand. "What was it?" Her voice trembled, ringing with the kind of urgency that sparked anxiety in the crowd. Each glance exchanged whispered of collective horror while children hid under covers, clutching teddies as their innocent hearts thudded loudly in their chests. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the town collectively held its breath, the figure reappeared, this time more than just a silhouette. It wrapped around the crowd like a thick fog. Conversations stopped dead, dread hung in the air like a lead weight. In that heartbeat, everyone felt a shared conviction the truth was just out of reach. Who was this entity? What did it want? And why did the shadows seem less forgiving than they once were? The unanswered questions clawed at them, but the eerie silence that followed was answer enough. In that moment, they knew the peace of their little town had been shattered forever. And deep down, they all wondered if they would ever feel safe in Doveland again. What other horrors lay in wait, cloaked in the darkness? As the figure faded into the night, a single question echoed in their minds: was their midnight just beginning? The cold seeped deeper into the bones of Doveland as the figure melted back into the shadows. Conversations began to unravel, trembling at the edges with doubt. "What do we do?" Larry, the baker, murmured, his voice barely a whisper. "We must warn everyone." Clara, the schoolteacher, urged, her hands shaking, clutching her flannel robe like armor against the unknown. As if on cue, the lights flickered off one by one, snuffing out their last sanctuary of warmth. An overwhelming, suffocating darkness descended upon them, eliciting the collective gasp of the crowd. Children clung to their parents, even delivery trucks seemed to hold their breath. Every eye darted toward the clock tower, which now pulsed ominously, flicking its ghostly light over the stone-paved streets like a lighthouse seeking followers lost at sea. But there was no salvation found here. "Stay close," whispered an elderly man whose name had been lost to time. His voice quivered like the dying flame of a match, casting shadows that danced wildly across his frail features. The others listened to him instinctively, the weight of his wisdom overshadowing them. A sudden crash shattered the night. A window had broken somewhere, followed by a pained cry. Panic erupted, people started shoving against one another, fear stampeded like a herd of wild horses. "Run! We need to get inside!" Somebody yelled, and the crowd surged in different directions, a chaotic thrumming heartbeats of Doveland fracturing under pressure, but others stood frozen, staring. One by one, they felt the urge to pivot and face the looming presence that had haunted their midnight. A boy, no older than 10, peered through the crack between the wooden door and its frame. His small hand trembled, icy sweat beading on his brow. "What is that thing?" He dared to ask, his childlike innocence mixed with a crude understanding of fear. Before anyone could respond, the dark silhouette emerged again, descending the steps with a grace that frightened and entranced them all. Its eyes glimmered with an ancient knowledge, the air around it thick with dread. No one dared to breathe, time stopped ticking, collapsing under the weight of their collective fear. "Who dares to stand against the cloaked truth?" The voice echoed like a distant thunder. It resonated within them, awakening hidden terrors and untold stories. Fear twisted deeper, weaving its sinister fabric through their hearts, an invisible thread connecting them all in terror. As the figure continued to approach, a strange thing happened. A couple of townsfolk stepped forward, emboldened by anger rather than fear. "You will not frighten us," shouted Tom, the town's mechanic, fists clenched, yet his eyes betrayed a quivering vulnerability. "We have endured so much. We will not be your prey." But the figure only paused, its form bending and swaying like smoke caught in a breeze. "Prey?" It laughed, a sound that shattered the night, a cruel, knowing laugh that sent shivers down their spines. "Oh, you are so much more than prey. You are part of a story that has not yet unfolded." Shocked murmurs filled the air, catching like fire. A strange allure pulled some from the safety of their shelter, inching closer to the unfolding drama. For many, answers were more desirable than the suffocating silence of fear. But was curiosity a path to liberation or a further descent into horror? Suddenly, a siren wailed in the distance, breaking the tension like a brittle straw. The town's sheriff had arrived, unaware of the ancient weight pressing down on them all. But was the arrival of authority a saving grace, or simply a prelude to greater chaos? "Get inside!" The sheriff barked, his voice booming against the shadows. But in that moment, another howl tore through the night, stronger and more desperate than before. And as the figure turned away, slipping back into the depths of darkness, it left a chilling promise hanging in the air: you cannot escape the truth of Doveland. And with that, their world spiraled even further into the unknown. What awaited them next, deep in the heart of Doveland's secrets? The sheriff's voice echoed, urgency cutting through the chaos. "Get inside now. Move." His order jolted people back into action, a stampede of fear and confusion. The night air buzzed with alarm as families scrambled for safety. But some lingered, eyes drawn toward the shadows. Clara's heart raced. The dark figure's words haunted her like a sinister song, weaving through her thoughts. She turned to Larry, whose pale face betrayed the depth of his terror. "Should we really stay? What if it comes back?" Before he could answer, the sound of splintering wood rang out again, reverberating through the chilly night. It came from the direction of the town hall, where the shadows seemed to swirl and thicken like a storm gathering strength. A few brave souls darted toward the flickering lights, drawn by the hope of finding answers or perhaps victims. Tom, surveying the crowd, could see faces pale and horrified as they whispered fearful conjectures. "Did you see its eyes?" a woman squeaked. "What did it mean by a story that hasn't yet unfolded?" Speculation ignited the air as each question piled onto the last, creating a suffocating fog of uncertainty. The sheriff's face darkened, frustration mingling with genuine fear. "Listen," he demanded, clapping his hands. "We need to secure the area. There's no time to waste. Everyone spread out, find anyone who's missing, lock your doors, and stay vigilant." Just then, the clock tower let out a mournful chime, echoing into the night. Each toll struck like a hammer, sending icy tendrils through the veins of the townsfolk. They looked up, a collective fear rising like a wave, crashing upon the shores of their once quiet lives, and in that dreadful moment of stillness, the darkness shifted again. The figure stood just outside the circle of light, a silhouette against the night sky. This time, it didn't come closer, it simply waited, watching. Whispers turned into a frenzied hum. "What does it want?" someone shouted, but as if to mock their confusion, the figure lifted a hand, and the air grew thick, heavy with an unexplainable energy. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath them like a warning rumble from the depths of the earth itself. The townsfolk staggered, clutching at one another for support as the tremors escalated. "I don't like this," murmured a young woman, tears spilling down her cheeks. "We've never seen anything like this before. What if it's the end?" "Stay strong," the sheriff called out, though his own fear tinged his tone. "Remember, our strength is in numbers. We face this together." But togetherness was slipping away with every quake. Shadows crept closer, the whispers grew into panicked cries, and confusion swirled like the wind. The figure remained rooted, a calm in the storm. Suddenly, a piercing scream sliced through the air. It came from Abigail, a local seamstress who had run to her shop to grab her daughter. The crowd turned to see her stumble back, face pale with horror as she held up something, the crumpled, blood-stained fabric of a child's dress. "Where is my daughter?" she cried, her voice raw. "Someone help me. She was just here." Gasps erupted among the crowd. The already thin veneer of calm fractured completely. The realization sank like a stone in their gut, this wasn't just a ghost story. People were truly missing. Panic pushed through the crowd like a wave, scattering them as screams erupted and people moved in every direction. Families grasped at each other, desperately searching for the lost pieces of their fractured lives. Tom's hand shook, but he faced the darkness, anger igniting deep within. "You think you can take our children?" he shouted into the night. "You think you can take anything from us? We're not going to let you." But the figure simply laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the darkness. "You cannot protect what you do not see. The truth is coming, and it will take what it desires." As the sheriff raised his weapon, the world seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the unknown to unfold. Would they fight? Would they run? Or would they inevitably become part of Doveland's dark tapestry? And then, a whisper crept through the crowd, a name, soft yet insistent, "Lily." The crowd froze. What did they miss? Fear gripped Clara's heart as she stood at the edge of the thrumming chaos, a truth now heavy on her chest, crushing her resolve. In Doveland, where shadows clung tighter than ever, what new horrors awaited them? The darkness thickened as the night wore on, each heartbeat a drumroll leading to an unthinkable conclusion. Clara's breath quickened, her heart pounding in time with the encroaching shadows. They were terrified, but fear hadn't fully settled like a heavy fog. Something deeper stirred beneath it, something raw and electric. "Lily," she whispered again, the name hanging in the frigid air. Where was the girl? Why had she been the only one to hold that dreadful weight, like a name carved into stone? The crowd swarmed chaotically, mothers clutching children, husbands seeking wives, and fear twisting every face. The sheriff's shouts fragmented the confusion, but his authority felt brittle now. The entity pulsed with darkness, an unseen force that seemed to draw strength from the chaos. It was alive, feeding on their dread. "Tom!" Clara's voice broke through the din as she grabbed his arm. "What do we do? We can't just stand here." His gaze flickered to the town hall, where lights flickered like the last vestiges of hope. "We need to find her. If Lily is out there," his voice tailed off, uncertainty clouding his features. Suddenly, another scream echoed, high and piercing, cutting through the horror of the night. This one was a man, a father, whose despair cut like a blade as he crumpled to the ground. "My son! My son is missing!" His cries ripped through the crowd, but they barely noticed. Panic had taken hold, suffocating reason and unity. "What if we're next?" An elderly woman wailed, her voice trembling. Her fear was contagious, it spread through the onlookers like wildfire, igniting wild, frantic glances, searching for escape. Clara shoved her hands into her pockets, feeling the weight of her own dread. Her fingers brushed against something cool, small. It was Lily's bracelet dropped there at their last gathering. Remembering the laugh in the girl's voice, the sparkle in her eyes, Clara's resolve hardened. "We can't let whatever that is take anyone else," she shouted, her voice breaking the spell of despair. "We must find her." A flicker of bravery spurred Tom into motion. "Follow me. We'll check the alley behind the bakery. It's close." He moved with purpose, breaking through the throng, and Clara hastily followed, determination etched into her features. As they dashed past the shadows, the town hall loomed ahead, a looming giant bathed in flickering light. What awaited them there? A shocking truth or something more sinister? The ground still trembled beneath their feet, making each step feel precarious. "Tom! Wait!" Clara called as they neared the alley. Something glimmered just inside. She halted, her instincts sharpening as she spotted a movement, a flash of white. "There!" She pointed. "Is that?" Before they could blink, the chilling laugh rose again, echoing behind them, louder now. "The truth waits to be unveiled," it taunted. Clara's stomach plummeted while the shadows seemed to shift closer, swirling around them in a malevolent dance. "Go!" Tom urged, eyes wide with panic, but as they hesitated, the walls of the alley appeared to elongate, narrowing their escape. Then, through the shadows came a figure wreathed in darkness but unmistakable. It had taken form, a grotesque mockery of humanity. "You seek the girl? I can show you," it hissed, voice like the creaking of old wood. "But you must be ready to uncover the price. The stories of Doveland are darker than you believe." Clara's breath stilled. What did that mean? What stories lay hidden beneath the surface? A dark wave of dread swept over her. With a single motion, the figure gestured, and a door appeared at the end of the alley, appearing as if it had been there all along. "Will you enter?" it taunted, eyes glimmering with malevolence. "Will you follow the path of shadows to find the light?" Every muscle in Clara's body tensed. This was not simply a choice, it was a dare. In a world turned chaotic, in a town on the brink of despair, they were left with a singular question: would they step into the darkness to save the light? As the laughter faded into whispers and the door swung open, Clara's heart raced. One choice would change everything. What lay beyond the threshold? Would they find Lily or become a part of Doveland's terrible tale forever? The air thickened with unease as Clara and Tom stood at the threshold of the door, the figure looming behind them. Tremors coursed through both of them, nerves fraying at the edges of their resolve. A soft whisper curled around them. "Make your choice." "Time is fleeting." The word struck Clara deeper than the laughter had, a sense of urgency entwining with her fear. "What if we step through and lose everything?" she muttered, her voice barely above a whisper, as if afraid the darkness would hear her doubts. Tom squeezed her shoulder, his grip like a lifeline. "We have to try. We can't leave Lily or the others to whatever that thing is. They need us." Clara nodded. With a deep breath, she stepped closer to the door, her heart thrumming like a drum. Against her better judgment, she turned the handle. The door creaked open, revealing a swirling abyss beyond the essence of dread and allure. She felt like a moth, drawn to a flame, hypnotized by the dark promise ahead. They stepped inside, and the door slammed shut behind them, engulfing them in pitch darkness. Clara winced at the sudden silence. The familiar sounds of Doveland, the rustle of leaves, the distant calls of frightened voices were swallowed whole. "Is this a trap?" Tom's voice quivered, bouncing off unseen walls. "We shouldn't be here." "Wait," Clara said, straining to hear anything through the suffocating quiet. "If we keep moving." A flicker of soft light pierced the darkness ahead, revealing a narrow path drawing them in. They exchanged a glance. It was now or never. With shaky breaths, they pressed forward, the warmth of the light wrapping around them like a beacon of hope. As they strode toward the source, the ground beneath their feet morphed from gritty asphalt into plush grass. The landscape around them shifted, no longer the alley but a twisted reflection of Doveland, distorted under the weight of shadows. Trees loomed overhead, their branches swirling like giant claws reaching for the sky, their leaves whispering secrets they should not hear. "Lily!" Clara called, her voice trembling with lingering dread. The light increased as they reached a clearing, revealing a circular stone platform surrounded by flickering torches. It buzzed with an electric energy, drawing them closer. In the center lay a small, crumpled figure, unmistakably Lily, her delicate frame illuminated against the cold stone. Clara rushed forward, but a sudden roar of laughter echoed through the air, bouncing like a knife off the stones. The figure loomed behind them now, eyes gleaming in twisted delight. "You are too late," it bellowed. "The stories of this place are not for the weak." Tom tugged Clara back, fear etched onto his features. "We need to go." But Clara's heart broke at the sight of Lily, frail and vulnerable. "We can't leave her." She fought against Tom's pull, desperation fueling her next words. "Tell me what to do. I will save her." The figure stepped forward, a smile stretching across its grotesque face. "Then you must understand the price a soul for a soul, it's only fair. Would you trade your light for hers?" Clara's breath caught in her throat, her pulse racing with horror. Trade? What did that even mean? "Don't even think about it," Tom shouted, panic boiling. "We can find another way." "Like how?" Clara snapped, anguish flooding her voice. "What if there isn't one?" "Your heart knows pain," the figure murmured, its voice dripping like poison. "But can you embrace the dark, to save the light? The choice is yours for both of you." Clara's mind reeled. Could she pay that price? A shadow unfurled in her chest, grasping at hope. Then a flicker of movement caught her eye. Lily stirred, her eyes fluttering open. Clara gasped, her heart soaring and plummeting all at once. "Lily!" But then she saw it, the darkness swirling around the girl, reaching like tendrils eager to pull her back into the void. "Choose." The figure cackled. "Will you grasp the chance or abandon her to the shadows?" Clara hesitated, the weight of the moment crushing her chest. She felt the cold dance of dread around her. What was the right choice? With time slipping through their fingers, Clara could sense an answer was near. What would she sacrifice? What lay ahead in this murky abyss? And just as she opened her mouth to speak, the laughter erupted again, echoing louder, swallowing everything in its wake. What truth awaited them next, or was this merely the beginning of their horrifying choices? The laughter faded, replaced by a heavy silence that clung to the air, thick and suffocating. Clara felt the weight of the moment constricting her lungs, her heartbeat hammering in her ears. The figure loomed just beyond the halo of the flickering torches, a silhouette dripping with malice and charm. "Choose wisely," it crooned, tauntingly. "Time waits for no one. What will you sacrifice?" Clara's gaze shot to Lily, whose small body lay limp, obscured by creeping shadows. The darkness moved like a living thing, wrapping around her like a serpent, drawing breath from the very essence of the clearing. Fear twisted tightly in Clara's gut. She couldn't let Lily go. She wouldn't, Tom. Clara turned to him, desperation bleeding into her voice. "What do we do?" But Tom's face was drawn, eyes wide with a mix of fear and anger. You can't make this decision alone. It's insane. We can find another way to keep her safe." The figure let out a low chuckle, the rhythm of its laugh echoing ominously. "Oh, but no other way exists here. Only the one you must carve with your own soul. Would you gamble your heart for this wisp of light?" Clara swallowed hard, the biting taste of dread washing over her tongue. What did it mean to give up a soul? Did they truly understand the consequence? She had a fleeting thought, what if the moment was meant to break them apart? Don't think about it. Tom yelled again, stepping closer to her, desperation attached to every word. Let us look for another option, the way back must be here somewhere. You don't understand. Clara's voice rose, and the anger fueled her determination. Lily is here because of me. If I abandon her now, I'll never forgive myself. Lily! Clara shouted again, the intensity in her voice a broken plea. Yet as she did, the swirling darkness thickened, and Lily's eyes suddenly widened in sheer terror. Clara! I'm scared, Lily's voice came, small and fabric-thin from the shadows. No! The figure barked, snapping the bliss of their returning hope. The price must be paid. If you delay, I will take not just one soul, but all of yours. Clara's heart raced as the laughter returned, a cacophony of echoes that clawed at her sanity. Anguish swelled in her chest. Would she really give everything for Lily, a child who looked up to her for protection, for hope? She stepped forward, eyes blazing. I accept. I will pay your price. The figure leaned closer, its eyes gouging into her soul. Very well. But remember, once given, the darkness will cling to you. Are you prepared to wear another's shadows? With a fierce breath, Clara squared her shoulders, feeling the rush like icy water splashing against her face. I am. Good. The figure's smile twisted into a grotesque glee. Then let the darkness unveil your heart. Clara felt an unsettling pull, like gravity reversing. Pain coursed through her veins, her breath hitching as shadows began to swell around her, meld into her very being. She gasped, feeling the edges of her reality blur, her sense of self fading. A sharp pang of grief filled her, a life sacrificed for another. But within that suffering, her resolve burned brighter. Stop! Tom's voice rang out, desperate as the shadows enveloped Clara. Let her go. We'll find a way back. But a dim spark ignited in Clara as screams reverberated around them, her light battling against the demands of the dark. The clearing echoed with chaos, shattering their fleeting solace. Tom! She gasped, fear surfacing in her voice. Help me! The figure hissed, its laughter mingling with the cries of despair. You cannot turn back from this. The choice was made. Tom lunged forward but was thrown back by a rushing wave of energy. The light around them flickered unsettlingly, shifting to a bruised palette of colors. Let her go! He yelled again, igniting the fire of determination in the pit of his stomach. Clara was grasping at freedom, unable to hold on tightly to the slipping thread of what was left intact. They stood on the precipice of a decision that would define the very fabric of their existence. Clara! Listen, Tom gasped, fists clenched. Around his own shadow. If you take the darkness, how will you fight back? Don't let it consume you. The silence that followed threatened to crush Clara entirely, her breath hitching as she wrestled with the weight of his words. What would she become? What would they all become? Before she could respond, the ground beneath them trembled, sending vibrations shaking through her body. Time is running out, the figure mocked. Choose or be lost. You've awakened the abyss. A feeling, raw and electric, buzzed through Clara. Would she let go or fight back? The dawn of her clarity beckoned in the shadows, revealing the truth lurking below the surface, a truth that could turn everything they thought they knew upside down. She struck a deal, but it had only just begun. As the shadows roared, engulfing them in brightening flashes of despair, a thought flickered in Clara's mind. What if this darkness held a key to fight back? What if she was stronger than the shadows suggested? And just then, she felt a whisper weave through the depths of chaos, a secret yearning for freedom, waiting to unfold. The darkness was only a mirror. Could they break the reflection? What awaited them once the choice had been made would haunt them in ways they couldn't yet foresee. Clara's heart raced, the chilling laughter of the figure entwined with her fading sense of self. The shadows curled around her, a suffocating embrace, as they threatened to pull her under. She gasped, feeling the weight of her soul teetering on the edge of a precipice, teetering between existence and oblivion. Had she truly made the right choice? Clara. Tom's voice pierced through the chaos, frantic, pleading. Think about it. You don't know what you're giving up. But Clara felt an odd swell within her, a pulse of energy humming like a live wire. The darkness was not just consuming her, it was awakening something long dormant. In that instant, threads of memories rushed through her mind, her childhood fears, the promises she made to protect Lily, the times she had felt powerless. Perhaps this price could offer something beyond mere loss. Let her embrace it. The figure taunted, its voice echoing like thunder. Let her take what she wants. Clara's vision shifted, each flickering torch casting shadows that danced like restless spirits. She could barely see Lily behind the veil of darkness, a fragile silhouette flickering between consciousness and fear. Would she truly become the monster she feared? She clenched her fists, feeling the rising tide of power within her, not just darkness but a strength born from anguish. Clara! Hold on! Tom shouted again, determination lighting the fire in his eyes. We can take it back. We can. I'm not giving up. Clara shot back, her voice fierce. The decision had been made, but she could forge a path no one believed possible. The shadows surged, vying for control, but she gritted her teeth, refusing to surrender. A recalled fragment of a story her grandmother once told her flickered to mind, that even the strongest darkness could be illuminated by a single spark. Clara felt that spark in her chest, igniting memories of hope and love. She focused inward, attempting to harness the restless energy that surged. I want to be a vessel for fear. She cried, her voice rising against the eerie whispers surrounding her. I refuse to be consumed. With those words, the shadows recoiled, as if repelled by the force of her will. Tom rushed forward, the energy crackling around them like a storm ready to unleash fury. You can do this, Clara. Fight it. She could feel the battle. It raged not just around her but within her. Her heart pounded angrily against the encroaching darkness. She could be engulfed, or she could use it to fend off the malevolence threatening to tear them apart. Clara. Lily's soft voice cut through the maelstrom, fragile yet powerful. You promised to protect me. Clara's breath caught. That promise was her anchor. I will. She thrust her hands forward, and the shadows writhed, reacting with a fierceness that made the ground tremble. Foolish girl. The figure shrieked, its facade cracking. You think you can control the abyss? You will be devoured. No. Clara shouted, drawing on the warmth of every memory, every ounce of love she felt for Lily and Tom. In that moment of clarity, she poured her identity into a luminous wave, bright and unyielding. The shadows shrieked, twisting away as her light surged, fighting back against the darkness threatening to claim them. The brilliant beam shattered the denseness, scattering fragments of shadow like ashes in the wind, but just as Clara began to feel the tide turning, a new sound sliced through the air, a deep, rumbling growl from the shadows, angry and primal. You cannot escape your fate. The darkness will reclaim what is its own. The clearing trembled, the ground quaking violently as fissures opened beneath them, swallowing the scattered shadows. Clara's heart pounded, the reality of the moment crashing down. Run! Tom shouted, pulling Clara and the still limp Lily from the ground that threatened to consume them whole. But the ground gave another violent shake, and Clara stumbled, losing her footing. Clara! Tom's grip tightened around her forearm as darkness clawed at her, trying to separate them. The figure lunged, its skeletal hands reaching for Clara, desperate to reclaim its prize. In that blinding moment, Clara realized she was still at war with herself. As she faced the figure, fear clawed at her insides. Could she truly harness the power surged within? Was she brave enough to be more than just a sacrifice? The shadows shifted, a dark vortex coiling around her, whispering promises of despair. But she heard something else, too, a melody buried deep in her heart, one of strength. It called for her to fight. To choose. Lily. Hold on. Clara yelled, as she summoned every ounce of defiance flowing through her veins. And then, with fierce conviction, she stepped forward into the depths of darkness. But as she reached for that power, she felt a different energy swirl around, a cold sensation, until the shadows twisted into a new form of face reflecting Clara's own. "What have you done?" It hissed, a tone carrying a dreadful weight. In that sickening moment, Clara gazed into the eyes of the figure, and she realized, sometimes the greatest battle is against your own reflection. The darkness throbbed with promises and intentions. Could she even trust what was unfolding? She needed to choose to embrace that fight. And what she found in that reflection left her gasping. Would she emerge victorious, or had she unleashed a darker truth lurking within? As the shadows pulsed and closed in, Clara steeled herself. The echoing words of the figure, "Time waits for no one," reverberated in her mind. The battle was far from over, it had only just begun. Clara's breath came in ragged gasps, the air thick with the pungent scent of scorched earth and supernatural dread. Her pulse raced, each beat thundered in her ears, drowning out the figure's chilling whisper. It was a taunting echo, a sinister symphony that threatened to unravel her sanity. "Look at yourself, Clara," the figure sneered, its twisted lips curling into an amused smirk as the shadows curled tighter around her. "What have you become? You chase light while I offer you endless power. Embrace your true self." The words washed over her, cold and enticing, like a serpent's whisper. Clara shook her head, backing away from the sight of her reflection, those dark eyes, that evil grin. A desperate thought surged, was she destined to slip into the darkness, too? The bitter truth gnawed at her, yet she fought to believe otherwise. "Together, we can reign," the figure repeated, the shadows behind it swirling in a vortex of despair and power. "You seek to save the girl? Join me, and you can protect her forever. No more fear." "No." Clara's voice rang out firm and fiery. The memories of Lily's innocent laughter flooded her mind. She could almost see her sister's face, bright and innocent like the sun. "I won't abandon who I am." Tom's eyes widened as he processed Clara's defiance. "You have to be strong. Don't let it know, Tom. I know what I'm fighting for now." She yelled back, locking eyes with him while her heart pounded with resolve. "I can't become part of this. I must fight for Lily, for everyone." The figure's laughter faded, replaced by a deep, furious growl. "Deny it all you want, Clara. You wear the shadows like a shroud. They are part of you now." The words reverberated through her, setting off a chilling realization. The shadows danced and twisted, beckoning her to join them, to accept the darkness. But as the shadows pulsed, Clara dug deep, letting the love for Lily anchor her to the light. "Whatever it takes," she shouted, feeling the familiar warmth of that spark ignite within her again, growing until it burst forward like a beacon against the encroaching dark. The light spilled from her hands, a golden stream that pushed back against the shadows, illuminating the chaos around them. The figure shrieked, a cacophony of rage and disbelief. "You can't escape. I will take what is mine." But Clara focused all her strength, channeling every memory, her promises, every laugh she shared with Lily. "You don't own me." The radiant energy surged, spreading through the clearing like wildfire. With each pulse of light, the shadows hissed and recoiled. Clara felt the sanctity of her soul light up around her, repelling the darkness like a shield. The ground under her feet quaked, as if acknowledging her power. "Clara!" Tom yelled, pride and fear conflicting in his voice. "It's working. Keep going." But just as she felt the tide turning, a bone-chilling wind whipped through the clearing. It carried with it the scent of decay and despair, and Clara's resolve wavered for the briefest moment. Could she hold against this storm? The shadows writhed violently, crackling with malicious energy, and the ground split open beneath them, revealing a pocket of pure darkness. You think you can shine? You think you're safe? I am eternal. The reality of her choice loomed before her. For a fleeting second, Clara hesitated, contemplating the abyss that beckoned. The promises of power swirled within it. What if she could protect Lily forever? What if darkness was freedom? No! She roared with every ounce of her being, the word breaking through the chaos like thunder. This wasn't freedom, it was ruin. She would not betray the love that kept her anchored, but just as Clara felt she was reclaiming her strength, the figure lunged forward. A powerful grip seized her wrist, the shadows threading through her body, pulling her into the void. Join me. It hissed, its voice dropping to a seductive whisper. Together, we can craft a new world. You could be unstoppable. In that moment of horrifying clarity, Clara saw visions of power untamed, a life without fear. It was intoxicating. But clarity struck too. She could be that monster she feared if she wasn't careful. Lily! She screamed, feeling her sister's heartbeat through their connection. In that heartbeat, Clara found her answer. With a final surge of defiance, she unleashed the brightness of her spirit, scattering the shadows like leaves caught in a tempest. Every fiber of her being screamed against the pull, her identity wrestling against the encroaching doom. And she remembered every moment spent protecting Lily cemented her life's purpose, to be a warrior of the light. The darkness caused an eruption, an explosion that streamed into the heavens, unleashing old fears and doubts alongside powerful resolve. But as the shadows faded back, a deep rumble echoed, announcing the arrival of something unnameable, something darker than she thought possible. What have you done? A voice thundered, shaking the very fabric of reality as a crack in the earth widened. Clara's heart sank as the ground trembled, the figure retreating momentarily, its laughter fading to cold malice. But she knew, deep down, this was far from over. As she steadied herself, the truth cast a longer shadow, one her courage never anticipated. What had she stirred beneath the surface? And as the earth beneath her shifted, Clara wondered, had she truly sealed her fate, or awakened something far more terrifying? Get ready! Tom shouted, his eyes frantic. We need to leave now. But the shadows were already shifting again, and the darkest scream echoed in her soul. Your choice has just begun to open. The ghosts of uncertainty loomed heavy over her as Clara braced herself. What more awaited them in the darkness? Could they withstand whatever terror now emerged? And deeper yet, a question hung thick in the air: what had Clara truly unleashed? The ground beneath Clara vibrated violently, a pulse that throbbed with an ominous heartbeat. She felt the weight of the darkness pressing down, suffocating the air around her. Tom's frantic voice cut through the chaos, pulling her back from the edge. Clara! We have to move. Now! But before they could act, the shadows coalesced, swirling with a life of their own, a dark tornado ripping the air apart. Clara's heart raced as she stumbled backward, trying to shield herself from the tempest. Within the chaos, a face emerged, twisted and looming, eyes glowing with predatory hunger. It was a visage made for nightmares, shadowy tendrils whipping through the air like serpents eager for prey. Did you think you could banish me? It bellowed, its voice a sinister growl that reverberated in the marrow of her bones. You've merely stripped the veil away. I am the mirror to your soul's darkest fears. She fought to center herself, gripping Tom's hand as if anchoring him in this storm. Panic surged through her limbs, but she had to focus. We have to fight this together. She yelled, her voice barely rising above the cacophony. Tom nodded, fear etched on his features, but determination sparked in his eyes. We have each other. We can do this. As Clara concentrated, she felt energy swirl within her, flecks of gold igniting in her core, igniting the memory of laughter, warmth, love. It poured out of her, spilling into the world, glowing brighter as though to fill every dark crevice. No more! She shouted, Raising her hands to the swirling shadows, the light erupted, battling the chaos. With each cresting wave of brilliance, the shadow figure shrieked, its form twisting violently. It recoiled, but not before the very ground beneath them shattered, sending a fissure through the earth, deep and consuming. "Clara! Jump!" Tom shouted as he grabbed her arm, dragging her away from the yawning abyss that was threatening to swallow them whole. They leaped, narrowly dodging the creeping darkness that reached for them like grasping fingers. As they landed, Clara's feet stumbled on the uneven ground, and she fell to her knees, breathless. The light pulsed within her, flickering faintly. They were safe at least for now, but lingering doubts gnawed at her as the figure reformed beyond the darkness. "You can't run from your true nature forever," it hissed, the shadows writhing, steeped in malice. "Every moment you resist will only bring you pain." Clara closed her eyes, shaking off the panic that tightened her throat. That voice was a venomous whisper, igniting those fears she desperately wanted to dismiss. What if it was right? What if she was destined to succumb to darkness? "Stay strong." Tom's voice shattered her thoughts, pulling her back. She opened her eyes, and the determination there was a tether to reality. Her resolve solidified, rooted in her love for Lily. "You're not alone, Clara. We do this together." With a fierce glare, the shadows bucked and twisted, eager for their second chance. Clara rose to her feet, her energy mixing with Tom's, creating a bond that radiated with unmatched intensity. She could feel it, they were stronger together. "Let us finish this," she shouted, a wave of courage washing over her. The force behind their united front surged, and she channeled everything she had into a blast of light that surged toward the figure. The ensuing explosion resonated through the clearing, light spilling like an unforgiving sun against the dark. The figure stuttered, its twisted visage faltering under the purity of their combined energy. For a moment, it seemed like they might triumph over this unyielding threat, but then, the darkness twisted again, forming into something even more grotesque. A new figure emerged, this one cloaked in shadows deeper than before, and its presence drew dread from Clara's very soul. "Welcome to your reckoning," it intoned, voice smooth as silk but layered with menace. "You've awakened powers far beyond your truth. Now, let us see exactly what you've brought into this world." A shiver rippled through Clara, and terror clawed at her throat. What had she truly unleashed? In that moment, she understood. This was only the beginning. As the true battle approached, the horizon darkened, filling her heart with a cold sense of dread and anticipation. "Tom," she breathed, fear creeping into her voice. "What's next?" The ground trembled as shadows surged forward again. The question of survival loomed heavier still, and Clara clutched Tom's hand, just hoping they could confront whatever lay ahead together. But the looming question remained: who were they now, and could they overcome the darkness threatening to tear them apart? They had awoken something far more sinister, and Clara could only hold her breath, feeling the stirrings of an unending night. What horrors awaited them in this storm of shadows? As Clara clutched Tom's hand, their fingers intertwined like lifelines in the tumultuous sea of darkness, uncertainty gnawed at her heart. The shadowy figure loomed closer, its presence pulsating with a sinister energy, and Clara braced for the confrontation that could change everything. "Stay together," Tom shouted, determination etched into every word, steadying Clara against the dread that threatened to pull her apart. The shadows continued to writhe and coil around them, creating a tumultuous storm of whispers, a cacophony of fears clawing at their sanity. "Your bond is weak," the darker figure hissed, its voice a cruel caress. "You think you can withstand the abyss together? Let me show you true despair." With that, the creature unfurled its swirling limbs, sending waves of darkness surging toward them. Clara could feel the chill in her bones as the shadows crept closer, suffocating the light around her. This was much more than a fight for survival, it was a battle for their very souls. That it was then, in that moment of overwhelming fear, that clarity struck Clara like thunder. Behind the veil of the chaos, the light she'd summoned surged within her, a flickering flame fighting against the encroaching darkness. She remembered the love and laughter she shared with Lily, the playful moments they cherished like precious gems. "Together, we can do this," she declared, her voice rising above the chaos. Tom met her gaze. "I believe in you, Clara." Clenching their hands tighter, they summoned their resolve, hearts beating as one. The shadows recoiled for a moment, startled by the raw energy that sparked between them. "This time, we stand united," Clara shouted, fierce conviction surging through her veins. The light pulsed brighter, fueled by their combined strength, exploding outward in a radiant wave that pierced through the darkness. The figure screeched, and for a fleeting moment, it faltered. The brilliance washed over the clearing, illuminating every hidden corner, revealing the very souls locked in shadows: the children, the frightened parents, even Lily herself. Every trapped spirit gasped as hope surged within them, ignited by the strength of Clara and Tom's defiance. "Lily!" Clara cried, eyes wide with love and urgency. "Hold on. We're coming for you." But the figure roared, furious now, and the darkness swirled with violent intensity. "You think light can conquer the abyss?" It lunged forward, striking like a wild storm, but Clara was ready. "Not alone," she shouted, feeling power coursing through her as she unleashed a golden beam of light, pushing back against the swirling mass. Tom mirrored her actions, their energies combining into a dazzling force, like the sun breaking through the darkest clouds. Suddenly, a gateway appeared, a shimmering portal glowing at the edge of the chaos, shimmering just like the memories they shared and fought to keep alive. "That's our way out," Tom yelled, and the urgency of freedom ignited within Clara's heart. "Lily, come to us." Clara beckoned, eyes locked on her sister's scared face. The light intensified, breaking through the chaos. Shadows hissed, writhing in agony, and as if responding to their call, Lily began to rise slowly, pulled by the warmth of their love. "Clara!" she cried, tears glistening in her innocent eyes, and with one final surge, Clara and Tom shot their radiant light toward the portal, extending their hands toward Lily, heart pounding with warmth and determination. In an awe-inspiring flash, Lily broke free from the grasp of shadows, racing toward the light. Clara beamed as her sister soared through the portal, arms outstretched like a flower reaching for the sun. "Together!" Clara shouted, and hand in hand, they dove into the swirling light, feeling the shadows pulling at their heels, desperate to reclaim their souls. But the golden energy enveloped them, sealing the darkness behind them as the world erupted in brilliance, illuminating the night sky of Doveland. The shadows screamed, but their voices faded, dissipating into nothingness as they crossed the threshold of hope. As they tumbled onto the grass, breathless and shaken, Clara and Tom looked around at the familiar warmth of their town. The clock tower chimed solemnly, the air fresh and new. Tremors of chaos lingered momentarily in their hearts, but the peace of Doveland wrapped around them like a comforting embrace. "Lily!" Clara hugged her sister tight, tears of relief spilling down her cheeks as hope blossomed within her. "You're safe." The townsfolk gathered, eyes wide with wonder, witnessing the light cutting through the remnants of shadows that floated away like mist. They had faced the darkness and emerged victorious, even if the battle had tested every fiber of their being. The laughter returned in the distance, sweet and bright, a melody that pierces silence. Clara sighed, breathing in the melody of safety, connection, and love. It was the sound of life reclaiming its place. They were a community again, forged by darkness but emerged even stronger. The shadows may always loom just beyond sight, and stories of Doveland would echo through the streets, but Clara understood now. Each moment shared, each flicker of joy was a beacon of light amid the darkness. "Let us go home," she whispered, her heart swelling with gratitude. Together, they turned and headed down the familiar cobblestone path, leaving behind the echoes of the night, embracing the dawn of a new beginning. Clara felt a sense of closure wash over her, the realization that facing the darkness had given way to light for her, for Tom, for Lily, and the entire town. She knew struggles would come, but they would face it all as one, their bonds unbreakable, and as sunlight bathed Doveland in golden hues, Clara turned once more, looking toward the clock tower. It was time to embrace the brighter chapters ahead. Now, everyone listening, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that uncover more hidden truths. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this conclusion. What would you do if faced with the darkness? And I want you to instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share the adventure. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let us build our community strong.